Visionary leadership is crucial to the sustainable growth of our cities and the businesses, as responsible leadership affects both the present and the future. This episode of the Visionary Leader Show on Future Cities Africa is with Zunaid Khan, Executive Director for Development Planning at the City of Joburg. Zunaid, it's incredible to have you on the show. Give us the key characteristics of a visionary leader.
Thanks very much, Daniel. I think firstly, it's to have vision. And often I know I had a colleague many years ago who said, you don't need eyes for vision. So I think for visionary leadership at the moment, that is one of the critical things that's required, is the vision. I think integrity is critical, honesty, the confidence to be a leader. So sometimes I know it's an old adage, that you have greatness thrust upon you some days. But it's important that you want to be that leader, and you have the confidence to lead, and you enjoy doing it. I think you got to enjoy doing this. If you don't, that becomes problematic. Compassion, empathy, these are critical. We work not just with machines, we work with people. And you require people to work with you, and so that's important. And you got to have a great sense of humor. I think for me, that's the basket. I know it differs for individuals, but for me, that's the basket.
On leadership challenges, what are our current leaders currently not getting right when leading their municipalities and their teams? And what needs to change?
There's definitely a lack of understanding. I think one of the teams, understanding of the sense and ethos around service delivery. And I think that's what we're missing. We're public servants. So there's a need to acknowledge and hold ourselves accountable to that. I think accountability and responsibility go hand in hand. We do require it, and I think leaders are battling with that. I think there's various degrees of support and some of the blurred lines that are becoming an issue. And I think there's a missing focus on excellence. Perfection is non-existent. Excellence is what you're striving for. And I think leaders today are missing that thing that we can do better. It's not about making excuses for mediocrity. And I think that institutionalized mediocrity becomes a problem. The other is the fact that the onus is on us as leaders, as teams, particularly in the public sector, to deliver for the residents of our country. That's public money, public funds. So we are held to that higher ethos, and this is something we should do. I think the other thing is one, that there's a culture of fear across the public sector, fear of failure, fear of also taking risks, and innovation and innovating. And when you have that culture, I think it becomes very problematic for leaders to do so. So I think those are some of the things we need to change. We need to change that mindset. I think we need to focus on the excellence. And I know Mr. Mandela said you should lead from behind. I am not Mr. Mandela. If I can get a tenth of what he was doing, that would be great. I would hold myself in high regard. But so I think he was capable of doing it, leading from behind. Often do have to lead by example. You have to lead from the front. And in public sector, I think that is needed. I think you got to focus on the dedication and the commitment. There are staff and others, and you got to harness that. And so I think that's where we do need to change. I think we need to manage the expectations as well. Because sometimes you want to do everything. You need to prioritize. You cannot do everything at the same time.
Zunaid, how exactly can change happen?
All right. I think one is the support and encouragement in the administrations to push the envelope to do more, to also give leadership the backing, the authority to actually take it forward, to go ahead and do it. There's degrees of failure and degrees of error, and I think in business it's cited many times that some of the greatest failures have led to some of the best success stories, because it's degrees of failure. So I think that's the first one, and you can see some of that. I think the pressures in the country are saying we do need a different approach. And I'm not saying it has to be completely the business approach to doing things. In the public sector, we don't work for profit. We work for the social good, but there are many lessons you can learn, many approaches. The other, I think, is training and capacitation of leadership, giving them the necessary capacitation. The training that's required, one, to embrace the ethos around public service and service delivery, but also the tools then to manage their teams, lead, and be more effective. I think thirdly would be, of course, allowing them the leeway and the room to do so. And micromanagement is a fallacy in any regard. And I think fourthly is trust, because you have to trust leadership to do it, and give them the ability and the room to do so and make some of these changes. And often to manage the expectations in that regard doesn't all happen overnight. Yeah, you make some of these changes, and I think the reference I used dealing with political administration here as well as the executive management is we're attempting to turn the Titanic, not a race car. So it's not going to turn on a coil. But we're going to have to move this massive vehicle nudgingly across the line and in a new direction. So I think that's where it starts. I think the one other thing is that leaders have to want it. You cannot be complacent and said you cannot be, this isn't a place to pasture. You have to work out here and you have to be willing to do it. You have to be willing to roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty in this exercise.
As an executive director, what is the focus of a leader in the administration, especially during these turbulent times?
My role, firstly, is one to lead the team, as I said. And in the current administration, and this is just general, for me, one is the strive for excellence. And I think we can. So one is to, enhance and capture the skills, the expertise we have, and to find ways that we can do what we're doing better, more effectively, and quicker for the residents, as you said, prioritize and develop urgency, because we can do it. And we've had some good success stories in our department around it, utilizing the skills supported with systems. It's people supported by systems or people replaced by systems. And I think that's what we're also focusing on, how we merge the two. I think it's changing the narrative also. Uh, Public sectors often, and I must say it, when I first started here, I've never been called useless so many times, but I have several times, and a reflection on the department. But, in that time, we've changed the narrative. People are starting to see that there are dedicated, good staff. There are good people who work here as well. And every organization has this. And they're making inroads into changing that narrative. We're taking a more customer centric approach, which I think has been missing. We're also starting to, reverse the culture on the arrogance that comes with officialdom. And I think Cicero made mention of this in 55 BC, that these are the things you change. And I think that's what we're really doing, for people to understand the role and decisions you make and what you're doing have an impact beyond you. They have an impact on residents, developers, they have an impact on the city, the province, and the country, and the importance there. I think additionally, it's driving the purpose of the department, the purpose of the individuals. What do we do on a daily basis? The impact, as I mentioned, and of course, our contribution to the city. We're a called, massive engine that is the city. And to take a car example, there are very small components in a vehicle, irrespective of value or how well it's engineered. But if they fail, the entire vehicle is not moving. So I think that's important that all our colleagues have a role to play. In terms of the political administration and others, even also colleagues, it's about managing expectations. I think it's also understanding the politics, but not being consumed by the politics. So I'm not a politician. I'm a technocrat. But governance and development is always politicized. It is global. And we understand this. So it's important for leaders to understand it. And for me in particular, to manage that, to have a good political and administrative interface, so that the agenda is delivered on and the city grows as a whole, and what we're doing and understanding the dynamics it comes with. But also at times managing the expectations to say what's possible, what isn't possible, ensuring the lines aren't blurred, and the accountability is kept, and it's measured. So for me at the moment, that's the role. There's a lot of other issues as well, everything from administrative stuff relating to labor disputes, tools of trade, working conditions, all these things. They're part of the course. Engaging with customers is critical. Having a face to the department. It's not just the city. But engaging with our customers, our residents, and irrespective of the age and what they're contributing and doing. The younger people among us, even kids, are the future users of the very same service, are the future customers of the city. So it's imperative we engage across the platform.
Zunaid, how exactly has your experience in working in the metro in your early years in Joburg and then moving to the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, DPME, helped you prepare for your current role? What are the lessons that you've learned?
You got to have a thick skin. I think, look, when I started with the city of Joburg at the time, I had hair and I lost it in those first few years. I must be honest. But as I stated, one of it is the willingness to do what's necessary and what it takes as a public servant, and it's a personal thing for me. When I joined the city many years ago, that first time I had an elder gentleman, very experienced, very senior, I hold in high regard, explained to me when you do this, you are held to a higher level of accountability. And there's three times in life when that will happen to you. One, when you work for God. One, when you work for the NGO sector, because it's donor funded. And the third is when you work for the state, public money. So you are held to those higher levels of accountability. Um, the other is the fact that I was given an opportunity and trusted at the time, and I thank colleagues I worked with and executive director at the time who also gave me the ability to shine, threw me into the deep end with many things, uh, and uh, and that assisted the process because you learn, and it's a massive learning curve. I will not dispute it. The other is the wonderful experience of seeing the world from the inside. Sitting from the outside, things look very different. Once when you're inside the machine, you realize just what it takes to do this. So at a city level, that was good and gave me loads of experience in that regard. And of course, then moving to the national department, and the scales have changed. To see things at a countrywide perspective is phenomenal. The magnitude of what the state's attempting to address, taking responsibility several times from friends, family, and the others whenever anything happened in the country to get calls at 7 in the morning. And it's your fault. You work in the national department, you're attached to the presidency. This is your fault. Not realizing I don't deal with false things. But I understand the public see one state, they don't see the spheres, they see government, and they see us as officials across that platform. So that was also a fantastic learning experience. The other is the pressures that come with this environment. And the work that comes and how you're viewed when you arrive. And I had a former DG who I'm forever thankful, who at the union building simply gave me funds and said, for you, and I wasn't sure what it was, but we were thrown in a deep end on several different things. And so one morning it's dealing with something in Polokwane, and the next it's somewhere in Rustenburg. Another it's whatever's an issue in eThekwini. So the scale was just completely different. One of the most fascinating things at that level was also the work ethic. The work ethic in a national development, particularly DPME, was something outstanding. It's colleagues mobilized when anything is required. The president calls for a meeting to the minister, and even on a Sunday. I think that's a phenomenal work ethic. And it's something I impart with the colleagues in the city as well. Say that, this is required in the public service. The other is the level of expertise, knowledge sharing ability. Working with the National Planning Commission and the experts there, even within GPME, some highly skilled individuals. It's unbelievable the access to knowledge and resources there. And learning from those folks is really fantastic. Engaging across platforms, I think, was wonderful. The other is the understanding of the politics at city level. When I first started in undertaking the duties, engaging with mayors, MMCs, MECs, others, then going to the national department and engaging with ministers, deputy ministers, president, deputy president. Fantastic, absolutely phenomenal to see the dynamic. And I'll leave you with this parting shot on this thing. One thing to remember as an official at Technocrat, when you arrive at cabinet, there's a presidential lounge, so current president and visiting president. It's important, even though there's no sign there, not to be sitting in that lounge when the ministers and the president himself arrives. My DG, I think at the time, almost lost her mind, but just quick to grab me You're not allowed to sit there. So it was a valuable lesson, but it was wonderful to see and present and produce quality work and be part of teams that are producing quality. I think that's the other thing. Let's focus on production of quality, and that you do have to produce quality. You have to apply yourself. And if you have the skills and you're laying claim to that, the onus is on you then to put it forward, to demonstrate what you can do. And I think that has helped me come out here, to return to the city and take on this momentous task, but also a wonderful opportunity, and apply myself to that. I think there's other experiences in the private sector and big entities that also help to give different perspective. And it's a learning curve on a daily basis here. But so far it's been a wonderful experience. Indeed.
How exactly do you manage the complexities of your daily tasks, and how do you prioritize what is done first and what is most important?
Prioritization is around what is the vision for the city. So for us, it is service delivery. And for this particular department, that means different things. But of course, the vision of the city is encaptured in various documents and policies. City of Children is a microcosm for the country. Given post-COVID and events, we are striving really hard to address three critical issues. So it is unemployment, it's inequality, it's poverty. Within that context, we'll focus on building the city, enhancing its economic development through the built environment and doing so. So that's my priority in the morning. What adds value to that, to ensuring the city gets going? The second is what's an issue for my teams, the important things for them that I have to address in a day. And they come a lot sometimes, particularly with the management team, but beyond that, the staff in general. And it's not always how they'd like it addressed, but such is management. The other is, then, of course, the customer service. I must give service to the customers of the city, and that includes everything from queries, and they do come a lot, and requests, complaints, because it's part of the deal. And then it's the strategic elements where I need to engage with some of the key city stakeholders, developers, others, NGOs, different groups, residents associations, ward councillors, others, in managing issues, challenges they have, questions, queries, and also, of course, whatever is a priority for our political office and the administration of the city. So it is around those elements. And many times that a young colleague who just arrived asked me, when do you sleep? Because I've received mails from you and stuff at 5 in the morning. Yeah, it allows me to get through some of those things. So it's that. And I'm a father as well. And of course, whatever's required for my kids, it's a school matter or function. And that's what I balance out between these things. It's the other is what's time defined. There are matters that are urgent to address in the morning. If there's an issue around flooding and query, those type of things, situations happen in the city. It's the nature of the business. So we respond to that, and where we can move things out, and that's what we do.
Zunaid, in closing, how will you define your success at the end of your role as executive director?
For me personally, I think it's if I've left the department in a better place than when I arrived. The impact I've made, and thereby have I made the city a better place, and left it in that better position. The systems and processes that have been initiated and implemented, as they're delivering on the measures we wanted and success, and they made things better for both the staff as well as the residents of the city, customers. So we made those improvements. I'm not looking for perfection, but I want to see that is, and some of this has begun and is going forward very well. I think the empowerment of the staff and facilitating both their growth and their progression, both at a career level, but just generally in terms of how they work, their operations, and, have they made the progression towards excellence? Can you leave it in good hands? I've noted recently with a very young colleague when she started, her performance was, and the efforts she made, it's a generational difference. Just looking about her efforts and time, and where she was after 2 months after initiating certain things. And I did point out that she's the future of the city. These are the folks we'd like to hand the city over to. because it doesn't belong to me. Eventually, it belongs to the public who was here before me to be here after. I think the other is the value of the development and contribution, economic contribution made to the built environment while I'm here, and what we've unlocked for the city. Um, because that economic development growth then addresses some of the critical challenges like inequality, unemployment, poverty, revenue for the city indirectly, but it has a significant contribution. And I think that would be great to see. And that the economy of the city is improving to what we do. I think the teams, and the narrative around them. We do have a customer satisfaction survey we're initiating specific industries at the moment as we want that better to see that people are no longer using the narrative that public sector servants use, even if it's for this department, appreciating the work they've done, the excellence that's been achieved, and starting to change that narrative. And lastly, the customer satisfaction. Our customers no longer using the narrative, are they happy? Is the ease of doing business with the city improved? Is business happy to engage with this department and its officials, colleagues? Are we thinking in a way and demonstrating that we're just ahead of the curve and our team wants to take the city forward? I think if I leave it in that state, I think I've done an excellent job for myself and brought it to where I do now.
A big thank you to Zunaid Khan for this insightful conversation on Future Cities Africa.